Greetings all. It's now 2024, the 2nd of the 1st. And let's get a few things clarified legally for every coronation oath since William and Mary back in 1689. Now, I get a lot of emails about this, and there's certain legal things you need to understand about this if you're going to argue this argument. And it's a valid argument and it can't be beaten legally, so you really need to pay attention to this. Now I'm going to read it. It says, will you solemnly promise and swear to govern the people of the kingdom, and there's the key bit, the people of the kingdom of England and the domains thereto belonging according to, and this is the second bit, the statutes in Parliament agreed on and the laws and customs of the same. Well, the customs are the same. So we can all agree that William and Mary's 1689 coronation oath was spot on right. You put that there to make sure everything was 100% correct. For any future king or queen that's going to swear an allegiance to the people, not the person, the people. Right then, Queen Anne on the 23rd of April 1702 did a coronation oath. She also did the statutes of Parliament, but she did change certain things. And it null and void her coronation oath. Well, I'm not going to argue about it. We'll get the legal documents there. I've got them. We're going to put them up after this talk. You can see them yourself. So, from Queen Anne in April 1702, that's when everything changed. Then in 1706, she did Act of 6 Anne, which brought in the Treaty of the Union. Treaty of the Union. So the Treaty of the Union was done to bring in the corporation known as United Kingdom Corporation plc. That buffed Her Majesty's government, who overseen that, because that's what they are. It's a government of United Kingdom Corporation. So that was the birth of it, and that started then. That was back then. That was straightforward back then. So if you do George the First, 1714 to 1727, he didn't even speak English, it was in Latin. Then George II, 1727 to 1760. George III, 1760 to 1820. George IV, 1820 to 1830. William IV, 1830 to 1837. Victoria, 1837 to 1901. Edward VII, 1901 to 1910, George V, 1910 to 1936, Edward VIII, 1936 to 1930, he abdicated, didn't he? But it is what it is. George VI, 1936 to 1952, Elizabeth II, 1952 to 2022, and then at present, King Charles III, 2022. So, every single one of them, since William and Mary, have changed the coronation oath. So that means that they've dropped Parliament. So Parliament is now nullified because there is no statutes of Parliament, and there is something called the corporation. Now the corporation is a very interesting thing. The corporation is so interesting. Yeah, the corporation is really interesting because in 1946, the Bank of England was nationalised. Now let that just sink into your head just a second. The Bank of England was nationalised in 1946. That means it was now owned by the government, more so Her Majesty's government of the United Kingdom Corporation plc. That means that the government had the power to appoint the bank governors and directors and issue directions to the bank. Policy. That's what that meant. Policy. As of 1946. Now, the Queen at the time, Queen Elizabeth, very, very clever individual, did something that was about unsuspected for them. She brought in something called the Royal Assent Act of 1967, Chapter 23, an act to amend the law relating to signification of Her Majesty's Royal Assent, Her Majesty's Royal Assent, not Her Majesty's Government Royal Assent. It said, and it was quite clear, and it was there, the signification of a Royal Assent. An Act of Parliament is duly enacted if Her Majesty's assent thereto being signified by a letters patent under a Great Seal, signed with Her Majesty's own hand. That meant that for them to do anything legally for statutes, acts, bills, Acts of Parliament bills, they would need to have the signature of the hand of the Queen at that time, which was Queen Elizabeth. Now, we all know that there is no handwritten authority from any king or queen since 1688-89, pertaining to any bills, statutes or acts. So that means they have no statutes or acts. No Acts of Parliament, no statutes, no primary or secondary legislation, legally speaking. But yet yous are all losing. I'm trying to figure out why yous are all losing. Because the Act says very clearly in it, this is a bit that I'm quite stunned about actually. I'm gobsmacked that people don't actually understand this. And you should understand it, because every statute and act, every statute and act is to a person. Yes? Yes? Which is a corporation, which is the government corporate body is to the person, which was brought in by the interpretation of an Act of 1888-89, Section 19. From this Act, from this point on, persons will be body corporate or incorporated via the birth certificate, the legal title, which is the birth of a corporation. It's not you. It can never be you, because it cannot be used as identification. It says it quite clearly on it. The legals do it, very specific. Do not ever think you can use this thing. You can't use it. The minute you do, you're committing treason. Treason to the people. And I'm going to do it. Will you solemnly promise to swear to govern the people? And there's the word, the people. It does not say person there. It says people, not person. There is no reference to person in a coronation oath. Because the monarch, every king and queen, understood there was a system in place to protect the sovereign, the individual, man or woman. But as a corporation evolves through time, which it has done, it's done it since 1688-89, or 1702 actually, 1706 when it was birthed. It's been putting things in place to make sure it could start getting its hands on the assets, because it's a corporation, and strip all the assets, because it's in debt, constantly in debt. But yet, they're the ones that can actually do the policy for the Bank of England, so they can write policy, get debt, and then print as much money as they want. Oh, and don't forget they tax the person. They don't tax the people, they tax the person. What are you not getting with this? I am trying to get it. It's there. Go look at any coronation oath and start with, will you solemnly promise and swear to govern? And that's the key bit, the govern. And then the next word is the people. Forget if it's a kingdom or a United Kingdom or it's Scotland, England, Ireland, Wales, any of these words. Forget any of them. The fact the word people are there and not person should let the penny just sort of drop in your head. Person's a separate issue. That's to do with a title that you've all got. Or some have got rid of it legally and done what they have to do with the unum sanctum, and that's to do with the People's Act and a few other things. But I'm not going to go down on any of that ways. I'm just sticking to the legal thing just at this moment in time. It's very simple. Understand what you have on your arsenal with legalese, aka documents that you can use and verify and can stand up anywhere in any court system, doesn't matter where it is. They're bound with them legally, whether they like it or not. And people are not persons. Two separate issues here. People are not persons. One's under a sovereign, person's under a corporation. Because it's baptised. It's incorporated. A person is incorporated, so it's corporated. People aren't, persons are. So get that, understand what you're dealing with. You really need to understand what you're dealing with. So, we all agree that from William and Mary that word people and the Statutes of Parliament. The Statutes of Parliament is one of the key bits. That has been removed from George. It was removed from, I know Queen Anne had it in her one, but the point of the matter is, she advocated that, and she nullified the coronation oath when she put certain things in there. I'll put it up so you can all see it and see it. So you don't need to argue about it or say, oh, you're wrong, blah, blah, blah. I've got it. It's all there. But the point of the matter is, the Statutes of Parliament officially removed from George, who wasn't even English, but never mind. And from that day forward, there's been no. So Statutes of Parliament. That is the one. That is it. The statutes in Parliament agreed on and the laws and customs of the same, which was altered back by George the First. Really, Anne's one of it when she had it in hers was null and void due to the fact she changed legal things in her coronation oath, which went against William and Mary. So the statutes in Parliament. So there is no legal Parliament since 1688-89. So let that just sink in for a bit. There is no Parliament. No standing Parliament. There is no statutes in Parliament agreed on and the laws and customs of the same to the people. So they removed it so they can introduce the person. Can't you see what they've done? They've removed belonging according to the statutes in Parliament agreed on and the laws and customs of the same for the people, because it is to do with the people, and introduced the person by the Interpretations Act of 1888-89, Section 19. That's what they did. So then they got round the back door because the people was at the start, will you solemn promise to swear and govern the people, and then removed the statutes in Parliament agreed on and the laws and customs of the same. So there was two things going on here. That's why they did it. Very clever what they've done. If you actually sit and understand what they've done, you really need to understand what they're doing. Yeah, you really need to understand what all this is about. I mean, this is frightening what they've done. It is absolutely frightening. I'm not touching on. I've not even touched on the person. I've not touched on. I've not touched on the incorporation because you birthed into that by definition legally. That's a separate issue altogether. I don't want to get down that. It's a massive thing just to break down the person. But I'm just trying to stick to the legal side of it because technically you're all legally in their system. There's two systems running right at this moment in time. There's a Unum Sanctum under trust, which is a One World Trust, and then there's a second trust running, which is the birth certificate, which is a Crown copyright, letters patent, and it has a grantor in charge of it. There is a grantor to it, ladies and gentlemen. I have the documentation to prove that there is a grantor. So there is now technically two trusts running. One of them's been usurped since, 2016, when the Queen fell out of grace as a god, and she changed her army to the navy, which is all detail, it's all fact. I don't need to go around this. But this is why your system is rogue, and you need to understand what you're dealing with. You have a rogue system, which is corporate, who are doing whatever they please to do because you're not understanding the rules of the combat. You're not understanding what you're dealing with. And once you actually understand what you're dealing with, it's a piece of cake to get rid of. It's so simple to get rid of. It's a walk in the park. It really is a walk in the park. There's multiple ways of doing this. There is multiple ways to do this, all the way from the legalese side of things to certain other things. It gets more complicated, i.e. with the birth of the person and all the legals to that and blah, 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 blah. But like I said, anyway, I just want you to understand what you're dealing with. So you get a bit better scope this year round how you're going to defend yourself. Do you want to be a person or do you want to be the people? Under the coronation oath. It's not rocket science, it's dead easy, dead simple to understand. And another thing while we're on the subject, this system, because you have got a grantor in this system, relies on something called a conflict of interest. And a conflict of interest cannot be brought forward inside a trust. Okay? And that's the key bit here, the trust. Now, as there is a grantor in this legal domain known as the United Kingdom Corporation, PLC, Scotland, England, Ireland, Wales, yous are all trustees. So when a trustee, aka a bank / council when they want to do what they want to do to you, you've got to understand that everything could be a conflict of interest if you do not answer a notice. Because a notice is what has been given to the trustee, because you're all trustees. If you don't rebut that notice and put in your own notice, you're going to leave yourself wide open. So my advice is if they're claiming some sort of alleged debt, and there is no debt, then you would have to put your own bill in as well. So put a bill in, have some fun. And there would be the conflict of interest going through their system, because the grantor has got to sign off every single ledger in this system of the United Kingdom Corporation PLC. So I'll leave that with you, just to hold that in thought. And I wish you a happy new year, and hope everybody's looking good and doing the right thing. And get on it, boys and girls, get on it.